Michael, welcome to Halloween Daily, where every day is Halloween. I appreciate you hanging out and talking to us today.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me on. Been a big fan of your work, so this is exciting for me.
Well, and I'm a fan of yours as well. It's very exciting to me to be talking to you today and to be having this conversation. And I know you're super busy right now because you've got a lot of awesome, really cool projects happening as we speak right now. And then you've been a part of a lot of our favorite projects in recent years as well. So a lot to talk about today, and I'm very excited to have you here. Um, when we start these conversations, whenever possible, I try to get a little bit of your origin story by zooming in on a flashback of the Halloween holiday because it's always Halloween with us, and so I'll start with that. First of all, do you celebrate Halloween? And if so, what is your earliest memory of celebrating Halloween?
Definitely celebrate Halloween. It's funny, my mom kind of got me into horror, Halloween, all spooky stuff, at a really young age. And then it was my grandfather that actually, there's a tradition in my house. My brother and myself, we every year do this huge Halloween display, actually. And so we have a lot of life-size figures and statues that are like
I
museum
love it.
quality. And it started with my grandfather and my mom, kind of building these things at a really young age. And then, my grandfather has since passed. I mean, my brother has have continued doing so, and every year it gets bigger and bigger, and the whole neighborhood comes out and gets to see everything, and it's really exciting. The kids love coming by. We actually start super early. We start like the second, sometimes the third week of September. So this is where we get the most out of it. And the neighborhood gets the most out of it. And then, it's cool that, the parents come by too. We have a fire pit. If they're not driving and they're walking, we hand out some beers and things. So it's a fun time.
Awesome. I love it. And yeah, it sounds like it's always been a big time for you guys. And I love the family connection too, because we talk about that all the time here, just talking about the holiday and how it is for so many of us. It's warm family memories. I mean, a lot of people when they look at their family photos, so many of them. I mean, yeah, there's other holidays, but everybody gets those Halloween pictures, and you can remember mark the years by the costumes. Oh yeah, well that was this year because I know that movie was out, and that's why I was this costume and those type things. So and keeping Grandpa's spirit alive in the holiday, so to speak. I love that as well.
Yeah, yeah. It was funny. We started out with a ghost face, from Scream. That was like our
Mhm.
first one that we had done with him. And then since it just grew and grew, and now it's funny, we added Art the Clown, which
Of
is
course.
really cool, and especially have one of our own characters there. And again, yeah, it's something that we've been doing forever, and we get really excited every year to see who we add. Each year, it's we try to do different themes and we try to add new people. We need a bigger house. We need more space, because we're still doing it at my parents' house, because that's where everyone knew where we had started. So we go back and put everything over there, but I think they got to get more room.
And you've got a new young family now, right? That always makes Halloween more special too, because I know when I became a parent, that was I always loved Halloween and at every age, but that was one of the funnest since I was a kid was reliving it again with my kids. So I'm sure you're just getting some early taste of that.
Yeah, yeah. My son is about almost 2.5, so I'm really excited for this year because he's
Yeah,
obviously a lot more aware now. We have a
yeah.
daughter on the way as well, actually, but that'll be right after Halloween, so that'll be next year with her. But yeah, it's really really cool to kind of revisit a lot of things and see the world through their eyes. And I'm super excited to
Exactly.
start showing them if they're still a little too young, but start showing them some of the stuff that I loved growing up, especially some of the horror stuff, and both kids, Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark, Halloween Town kind of
Yeah,
stuff, and then to more of the graphic, kind of
sure.
horror stuff. But yeah, it's super cool, it's super exciting, and I'm excited and happy to be able to be doing this and kind of just extending myself and my knowledge and my love for for things that inspired me when I was a kid.
Mhm. Awesome. And I love that too, because that is what you're doing. You're taking all of those things that you grew up with and inspired you and kind of incorporating them in your own ways, whether it be how you celebrate and honor Halloween, and also in your art and in your films and all that. Art, no pun intended, but um, and then before we leave the Halloween holiday, we always like to ask when we get a chance, what is your favorite Halloween costume you've ever worn and your favorite Halloween candy?
Hmm. My favorite Halloween candy is I mean, there's like a top three. It's hard. I like Kit Kats. I like
Hmm.
Reese's peanut butter cups. And I know this is probably not a popular one, but for some reason I like candy corn. I
Yeah.
don't know. I just like grabbing a handful quick, and well, it's actually candy corn in my house right now. So the first of the season.
Yes.
Favorite costume. That's an interesting one. I don't know. That's I've had so many cool ones over the years. I don't know what my favorite costume is or was. Um, I know that one time I was in a school. It was a school project, and I actually built this costume with my mom, where I was like a trapped kid in a gorilla cage, and the gorilla was walking around. So that was a cool one that we did, and
Yeah.
we also did like a headless horseman where they're holding the head. So that was another cool one. So yeah, maybe those two.
Yeah, those both sound cool, and I love the homemade aspect too.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's another nice touch, and keeping it in the family again. I love all of that. So yeah, those are some good ones, good picks there. And you can't go wrong with those treats either. I mean,
Yeah,
those are all good in my book.
classics.
Um, have you always wanted to make movies and be a filmmaker? When did this begin for you? Was there a clear starting point?
It was as far back as I can remember. I can't
Okay.
really pinpoint. I know some people, can pinpoint the exact moment the light
Right.
bulb went off. I think it was just kind of innate in me. It was always there.
Yeah.
I can remember really young, like 3 years old, 4 years old, kind of mimicking the TV a lot when I was younger. You know what I mean? Whether it was, a musical number or, dialogue that they were going through or characters, and I would kind of like act it out.
Yeah.
Um, but at a really young age, maybe around 6 or 5, around there, I started. My mom would always film. My parents had a video camera, so I ended up taking it and filming my own stuff. With my siblings. I'm one of 6,
Oh
so
wow.
I would do we would do little skits or little shorts or little movies and stuff. Different genres. They weren't all horror. A lot of them were.
Hmm.
Making the next Halloween or the next
Hmm.
Leprechaun or whatever. Um, and we were just testing out. And as I really started falling in love, as a kid, I was more of a, I guess, acting set, kind of focus, except when I was doing stuff in the house. And then as I got older, even though I still do act, I
Hmm.
became way more behind the scenes, kind of aspect of filmmaking.
Awesome. And you've been hard at work at it, and again, you've been a part of a lot of cool projects. Like you said, in front and behind the camera. But I think the first one, maybe for me, that kind of brought fuzz on the lens to my attention, I think, was the Halloween 60 um, fan film parody trailer. What for anybody who hasn't seen it? Well, we'll put the link in the description of this interview if they haven't, because it's great. And but if they haven't seen it, can you tell our audience what it is if they haven't seen it, and then how did that come to be?
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of the Halloween franchise, like I think most people should be. and
Yeah.
when they decided to make the 2018, 40 years later, and they announced Jamie Lee Curtis was coming back, I was super excited, obviously, and like looking at everything, trying to figure out, anything I could about it. But I think as most people, you start to realize 40 years that puts Michael Myers in almost geriatric estate if it was real. And that idea kind of just popped as to, well, this could be something fun, and a light way of paying homage to
Right.
the franchise, you know what I mean, and kind of have a
Hmm.
little fun with it. And it was funny, years before that, we had done a fan film called Halloween Awakening. And it was like a sequel to Resurrection, that what we wanted to do was basically try to connect all of the timelines and make it one fluid film. We even got Tom, what's his name? Escaping me at the moment, but the guy who voiced the who voiced Dr. Loomis in H2O,
Oh, okay.
Tom Kane.
Yeah.
We got him. I reached out and got him to voice over Dr. Loomis in this narration in the opening, and so we had built a little bit of a fan base that had like really liked what we had done with that Halloween movie. And so, I was like, hey, we can kind of get this out there, I'm sure, through that same fan base of excited to see something a little different from us. We're, we do horror films, obviously, but we're also comedy people. So I was able to put together both my loves of horror and comedy together in this Halloween 60 trailer. And really what it was kind of making a spoof as if it wasn't 40 years later, it was 60 years later. And we basically did a shot for shot reenactment of the 2018 trailer, but in a more comedic, more maybe realistic way of, Michael Myers has to take a Viagra pill, his knife gets raised, and Jamie Lee's going after him for the umpteenth time, and she's got the walker, and but we were really, I think, why it connected with so many people was we are Halloween fans, so there was something in there that you can connect with and see that this just wasn't just a quick kind of, oh, just make this for the sake of making it to get exposure. It was like a real love letter to the franchise.
Yeah.
And it's in the dialogue, and we just had a ball with it. We actually had a plan to do all of them. We had Halloween 60, then we had Halloween Pills, and then we had Halloween Depends. And that was and we had the scripts for them with the trailers, but then COVID hit, and then we got busy with Terrifier 2, and then it was Stream, and so a lot of it kind of just kept going to the back burner, unfortunately. But we had some cool ideas for it. But again, yeah, it was really fun to make. We had a lot of laughs, and we did it quickly. We had to turn it around within like maybe we shot it in like a week or two. Had to edit it, and then it was funny. We went out to the convention at Halloween 40 in Pasadena.
Yeah.
And there I was talking with Malik Akkad, who had seen it, and Ryan Turek, who had seen it, and Ryan Freeman, who'd seen it, and David Gordon Green and his people, Danny McBride, they saw it, which is so cool.
Yeah.
And they were just talking about how much they loved it and how much they laughed at, and they thought it was really great. So that was an honor.
Yeah, it is great, and that's awesome that you got to hear straight from all of them, and at the moment too, right there when it was all happening.
It was funny too that the mask that we used, it's a Michael Myers mask with a receding hairline. It's actually, so everybody knows Halloween, it's Captain Kirk, it's William Shatner's face that they modified for the shape. This was a current mold of William Shatner's face now that we had used in our Halloween 60. So it's got the wrinkles and the faces, a little longer and a little wider. So it was cool.
It's awesome. I love that. And I know we're jumping around, not really going in order, but we're going to save some of the Terrifier talk to the end because I want to now talk about what's happening right now with Stream. This is, you directed it, you co-wrote it. This is an original idea, and I've seen it, and it's awesome. I really loved it. And I think horror fans that haven't seen it yet are going to totally dig it. You've got a stacked cast as far as like just some really notable horror icons. A lot of friends of ours out there too. Great to see them all in one really cool project like this. I love that. And some of your lesser household name actors I thought were really great kind of discoveries too. I think some of them we're going to see a lot more of because they did a really great job. But talk to us a little bit about how this project originated. Again, as we're recording this, it's in theaters, it's out right now. But when did all of this journey to Stream begin, and what's kind of the origin of the story?
Yeah, it was a while ago actually. It was before Terrifier, before my involvement with Terrifier, at least. The original, it wasn't the All Hallows Eve and all that stuff.
Right.
It was like 2015 or 2016. We had just finished our feature film Abnormal Attraction, and that's a horror comedy for anybody who doesn't know about it. It's got a great cast: Malcolm McDowell, Gilbert Gottfried, Tyler Mane, Leslie Sherbrooke, a few others. And I always wanted to do a horror film. It just kept playing over in my head about this family, and very father driven, like horror is very much about the final girl, which is great, but this one, and action movies are more about like the dad and the guy. So I kept having this father figure with his family and trying to save his family in a kind of action
Yeah.
80s kind of style movie, but in the horror world. And I kept thinking one location, one location, one location. And it took a little bit, but around, we had just finished another film called Penance Lane, and then a light bulb went off. And it was like, oh, you know, doing something in a hotel, and, maybe it's game, and trying to modernize the horror genre, because I'm a huge fan of slashers. But a lot of the slashers, especially even now when they make them, it's always like, well, they're either set in the 80s, or they're set in the night before the cell phones, and before that they don't tie it in, or if they are tied in, there's no real reason as to why they're not working, because they're in the woods and stuff. So it's like,
Right.
how can we use technology now
Hmm.
and capitalize on that? And then we also kept going back to the idea of what makes things scary in the moment. So it was like, well, every good horror movie kind of exploits your safe space and kind of raises questions about it. So, Jaws, it was a day at the beach. Nightmare on Elm Street, it was your dreams. Psycho was the shower. Nightmare on Elm Street was dreams. It was Friday the 13th, it was the summer camp, and so on and so forth. Halloween, the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
So we just kept saying, okay, what is now something that everybody uses? There's still a lot of question marks too. There's a lot of unknowns too, but everyone kind of feels safe. And it was technology. It was the cell phones. It was the computer. It's the internet. So that was kind of the start of it. And it was when cryptocurrency was popping, and that was kind of this new thing, this new wave. So it was really around that time where stream was born. And again, then it was like, let's not do one serial killer, let's do four, and let's make
Hmm.
it a competition. And and a lot of those movies like Saw and Hostel and all those things, the difference between Stream and those films was that it was the victim that was the one that was making the decisions, that was competing in this game.
Hmm.
Whereas in Stream, it's the killers, it's the players that are competing in the game. So that was an interesting thing that I was excited to kind of explore. And the horror icons that you mentioned that are all a part of it, that wasn't initially the goal, wasn't
Yeah.
to have like every horror person, known to man in it. It was just being horror fans. It was like, as we were in the casting process, we are like, oh, this person would fit this person would fit that. And I think at the end of the day, I'm happy at how that came out, because there's so many movies that call themselves, and I hate even using this term for us, but people have the Expendables of horrors, the Avengers of horrors, because I think it gives it a bad connotation, which is like, well, these people are just going to be there for this quick cameo, one line in and out, serve no purpose to the story. As far as I'm concerned, we did not do that. And there's a lot of people that say, like, even though there are bigger roles and smaller roles for sure, every
Hmm.
character was written in the film as a character before they were cast to a Felissa Rose or to a Danny Roebuck or to a Jeffrey Combs or whoever.
Hmm.
And it was, they got that part because they fit it, and because we're horror fans and we like seeing our horror, our horror people in it. And like you said, you hit the nail on the head. Even though I think we have a tremendous cast of people that we all loved growing up, I'm so excited for audiences to be able to get to see some of our unknown cast. Charles Edwin Powell, Wesley
Hmm.
Holloway, who's the little boy also from Terrifier, the serial killer.
Yeah.
He's got a big role in this movie.
Yeah.
Uh,
He's great.
yeah, so there's Sidney Malachi. There's so many great
Yeah.
actors.
She was really good too.
Yeah, that like you don't
All
get
of them.
yeah, that you don't get, that you wouldn't have known about. It was kind of like the horror icons get you through the door, and then the story unravels. And that was something also why so many people jumped on board. Was It wasn't just, even though we have a lot of killing, I think there's like 26 kills in the movie. It's a lot. But even though it wasn't just all about that, there was a story that we were really trying to focus on. And it was the bond of this family, and the father trying to bring them together. And then there's side stories with the daughter and the kid and the Frenchman and whatever. So that was something that, like, Jeffrey Combs and Danielle Harris and Tim Reed all said, this isn't just mundane killing. This is like a real story. You're trying to make a real movie here. And
Hmm.
I like that, and they through the whole process, I kept trying to remind myself, don't lose that for obviously what we like to call, the goods, which is obviously the kills, So we were very conscious, and that's why also the runtime is about 2 hours, because we wanted to really set up our family, and I think it pays off in the
Yeah, I think so too. And yeah, I mean everybody always talks about run times. Now it seems like it's like a topic of everything. But no, I thought it definitely pays off, and you do. You're laying that foundation and letting us get to know them, and just kind of letting it unfold. And you mentioned a little bit of this, but I love the aspect just in and of itself of the four killers. And for people that haven't seen it, I mean, it's in the trailer and obviously in the promos. You've got these four killers, these four players in this twisted stream game. At what point did that enter into the process? Was that very early on, like you're talking about, like, or
Yeah, it
when did
was.
you realize, you know what, we need not one, not two, we're going to put four of them in there
Well,
and give them each their distinct personalities? Because I love that part too.
yeah.
That you know they're all four very different, and after watching for a few minutes, you've got it. You got okay, that one. You know, you just see the silhouette and you realize which one it
Yeah.
is pretty quick.
You know where the four came from, again, because it is a game and it is modern. It was really started from video games. Originally, there were
Yeah.
four multiplayers. You could be player one, two, three, or four, and that's actually the colors of their eyes. Player one is blue, player two is green, player three is yellow, player four is red. And that really was from the video game world of, okay, this is something that is established. I mean, now there's, you can play online and there's hundreds of players, but like back originally, the PlayStations and the Xbox and even the Nintendo, it was 2 to 4. So that's really where it started, and that was kind of the idea of why it was four players or four killers, and why the eye colors were that way. And again, it was just trying to build tech into the costumes as much as we could. The face is the same. The mask, I don't have one here, but the mask is the same. It's the same face. And then it's up to the players, like you said, to be distinct with it, to customize it. The female takes the lipstick and puts it on. The player two puts the bandana. And I think there's a lot of room also to explore in future films. Hopefully, if the fans accept this movie, and it seems like so far the reviews are pretty cool and pretty great. But there's so many people that don't know about it yet, obviously with the limited theatrical release. So we'll see where it goes. But we have so many cool ideas that we did hold back a lot with this first movie that we want to expand upon. Even with the game, like there's so much about how it's set up and how it's run that we didn't want to go too much into to keep it a mystery that we can explore and expand upon in other movies if we get them. And again, that mask, so it's this one singular face, and the way we decided to do it was we went the opposite of what was known. Michael Myers is a white mask. Jason Voorhees is a white mask. We went a darker mask. We went with the carbon fiber, hard, whereas the other ones, like Michael Myers, is latex. It's rubber. It's malleable. They have closed mouths or no mouths. We had a wide open smile. They have the darkness in the eyes. We decided to light their eyes and use the colors there. So there was a very conscious effort of going the opposite of what's been done and then using that to bring it into the 21st century, the modern era.
Well, I love all of that, and I love the fact that it is so modern feeling, and because streaming is everybody. A lot of people are. Everybody's going to get this interview through streaming. It's such a part of our lives now. Even for old folks like me who grew up with the giant TV sets that you actually had to get up and change the channel every once in a while on. I mean, I'm old enough to remember that stuff, but yet streaming is how I consume my media today. So it's definitely timely in that respect, and that's one of my favorite aspects too. I mean, and I was going to comment on this, how it's I don't think it's a spoiler to say. I mean, it's set up, as you say, for possible sequels if the everything aligns. And I think having watched it, I'd love to see more and see this world expand. And I kind of almost would liken it to the first Purge movie, to where that was a great movie, but it was a very isolated story in this larger universe that they set up, but they didn't really show you much of. They just hinted at it, and then all the movies since have expanded on that idea. And I think this, in a lot of ways, kind of accomplishes the same thing. Whereas I could see exactly what you're saying. If you're able to go forward and do more, which I'm hoping for, that we could see more of this world unfold outside of this, as you mentioned, this single location where almost all of the action in this film takes place.
Yeah, and that's exactly how it was designed to be, where we can have room to expand and
Yeah.
grow and build upon. And it was funny that the creator of The Purge actually was at the premiere stream, and he wrote a really nice note to me afterwards
Very
and how
cool.
much he enjoyed it and loved it, and congratulated that we have a franchise. And that was cool to hear from somebody who's so successful. And you know, like we said, we just wanted to make a good story, and something that we also felt wouldn't get stale
Mhm.
because, you know, listen, I'm going to be the first one to run and go see, you know, Halloween 30, 40, 50,
Yeah,
whatever, the next Friday the 13th, right? We love them.
sure.
But with this, you know, it was something where you can keep it fresh by changing locations. You're not kind of stuck with one character. You have these, it's kind of like Scream, I guess, in a way where
Mhm.
Ghostface is the thing, but there's different people behind it all. So, you know, there's a lot of room. And also we're listening to our fan base. We're seeing what everybody's liking and whether, you know, what they're suggesting and saying. And like I said, the reviews, it's really awesome how great they've been so far. It's very humbling and it's just awesome that, you know, the horror community is accepting this movie and, you know, getting what we're trying to set up and what we're trying to do. And it's really surreal and it's exciting, you know, and I hope that once this goes to streaming, you know, the rest of the community will be able to enjoy it and see it, you know, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
And obviously, like you said, it's limited theatrical run, and it will be streaming. Stream will be streaming eventually. Do you know when, or have an idea of when it'll be streaming?
Yeah, we don't have an exact date yet, but it will be this fall,
Okay.
probably mid to late October. Hopefully, that's the goal.
Okay.
Every the pieces of the puzzle are starting to fall into place now. Again, you know, because of theatrical run and then being extended in a few places, it kind of hinders those things. But that is the goal. Is obviously, you know, to drop it when a little after Terrifier 3 hits the theaters.
Mhm.
Um, so this way, for anybody who wants more that hadn't gotten to see stream, which there are a lot of people who haven't got to see it yet due to the
Mhm.
limited release.
Right.
They'll get to go home and stream it right from their comfort of their living room, and you know, get to see more from Damian and myself and the rest of the gang.
Oh, well, that sounds awesome. And I'm sure they will. And I mean, you mentioned Damian working on this and, of course, doing the special effects. I mean, we love his work. I've been a fan of his since All Hallows Eve, since that was the first bit of his work I saw like over a decade ago now. And I've been following his work ever since. And so everything he works on, I've been a fan and supporter of. And of course, the Terrifier films are no exception. Um, I wanted to ask though before we leave stream with the kills because I mean it definitely delivers the goods. I'll say horror fans and I can't recommend it enough to the horror fans because I feel like it knows exactly what it is and from talking to you, hearing how much time it's taken and you've put so much thought behind so much of these decisions. I feel like it shows because it definitely knows what it's trying to deliver and does that in my opinion. Um, but with the kills, there's some extreme kills. I mean, Damian Leone. I mean, we and it you definitely see his mark. Let's say that. Um, but where do you, as the director, I mean, because at the same time, this isn't a Terrifier film. This is your vision. This is a different franchise, a different project. Um, can you talk just a little bit about the challenges for you to, know when to say
Yeah,
when to say, this is enough on this one, or this
yeah,
one we could use a little bit more. I mean, because you've got Damien there, I guess is what I'm saying. So obviously, sky's the limit.
yeah.
I guess.
It's
So
very
so at a certain point, you do have to say, I think this will be good
yeah.
for this.
First and foremost, you're right, 100%. That's something we're very conscious of. This is not a Terrifier movie. This is its own thing, and we always
Yeah.
wanted to have its own leg to stand on. Obviously, you know, it's from the producers of Terrifier, right? We're
Yeah.
all involved in Terrifier, and we're very proud of Terrifier and love Terrifier. But again, this is something that we wanted to do that was different, and also I think Terrifier started out very niche in the beginning. You know,
Yeah.
it was very cult following. You know, not many people knew. There were diehards, and now kind of expanded into pop culture. Um, with stream, you know, we tried to open it from the beginning a little bit more general horror audience because there are horror audiences aren't gore hounds, and I think
Mhm.
you can see that in the opening where it's a little bit of a slower burn at first, where it's like, wait, are we gonna show the kills at all? Like, and it's funny because again, when we wrote this film and even shot this film, we'd shot this movie right after Terrifier 2, so Terrifier 2 wasn't even out yet in theaters. So
Mhm.
again, we knew the movie we had, but we also didn't know where it was gonna go. So I didn't know people were going to know us for the gore, even though Terrifier 1 was out to that extent. Obviously,
Right.
Damian, of course, but, my involvement in things. So it was like, originally it was, we're not going to show the gore and it's going to be like a normal horror movie where it's like, oh, you're mine. And then, oh, you show a little more, and then boom, and then you shock them. It's
Yeah.
funny, it kind of worked in reverse because now people know who we are. They started watching it and they're waiting for the gore. And they're like, when is it going to happen? Because it's going to happen. So
Yeah.
it was kind of an interesting reverse engineer that happened because of the success with Terrifier. But you're right. We wanted everybody to know it is its own film, even though there's so many people across the board that were involved from Terrifier. And that's just because we all worked together so well and
Mhm.
we're great friends. I mean, Damien's one of my best friends. The Paul Wiley became a great friend. All these people, George Stuber, all these people that are involved, Phil Falcone involved in Terrifier. We're just a family, and we love being together. We love working together. We love working off each other. Um, so that's why a lot of people, came over. And also, I happen to think a lot of them are the best in the business. So why would you not want to work with people that are super talented all the time and that you can trust and experiment with?
Sure.
So yeah, so again, it wasn't meant to be anything like Terrifier. Obviously, the gore and things. You have Damien. The kills weren't even as graphic at first, and
Mhm.
then Damien would come to me and say, "Hey, Mike, what do you think about pushing this?" And I'd be like, "Oh yeah, we have you, yeah, yeah." And then I started getting the bug, and I was like, "Let's push and push and push." And
Yeah.
but again, you have to know when to not push as well, because Art the Clown is Art the Clown, and he has his own style of killing.
Mhm.
Art the Clown, there is no limit with him, and he'll go into the gross and the cringy and the disgusting with the intestines and the organs, and whereas Stream, these killers, again, maybe there will be one like that down the road, but that wasn't the vision I had for them. I had more of the, how can we outdo the creativity of the kills, the uniqueness of the kills specifically, rather than the grossness of the kills within and just dismemberment. And that's kind of how my mind was separate them, because again, you don't want to do what you've done before. We
Mhm.
have Terrifier. That's something, we're proud of, and we want people to enjoy Terrifier for Terrifier. And now we want people to enjoy Stream for Stream. And hopefully there'll be people that enjoy Terrifier that come over, but hopefully we'll expand also our fans of saying, okay, maybe the full out gore isn't their thing, but they can come and dip their toes in with Stream and, appreciate the art form of what the gore is too.
Mhm. Absolutely. And we've been touching on it and the Terrifier films, and of course, again, as we're recording this, we're like just over a month from the release of Terrifier 3. And but as you've mentioned a few times, I mean, you've been involved with Damien and with this whole Terrifier team since the first film. Um, how did that relationship begin? Where did you connect with Damien, and how did all that begin with the first film?
Yeah, so it's funny. We were working on Abnormal Attraction,
Okay.
and we were doing this scene in the woods. It was a monster camp, and we had all these structures that were monster houses, and the buddy of ours, Jason Milstein, who's very much a part of the Terrifier franchise now as well. He was doing sound for us. He was also our post production supervisor. He had said, "Hey, I have this investor producer friend of mine that's interested. He's a Wall Street guy. He's just getting into film. His name is Phil Falcone. Would you mind if he comes to the set? He just wants to see the operation of what you're doing because he's going to start doing his own projects." I said, "Yeah, of course." So Phil comes down and we kind of hit it off. He's a Brooklyn, New York guy, lived in Staten Island for a little bit as well. And we just clicked. So then he told us about his movie, Joe's War, that he was working on and he was directing, and it was a project that was really close to him. It was his first feature film ever, and he just went and did it, right out of retirement from Wall Street. So he shifted careers immediately. And Damien was doing some of the stuff on that,
Okay.
and they were gearing up together to do Terrifier 1. And it was his son, Phil's son, that actually told me, "You're from Staten Island. You know this filmmaker is from Staten Island as well, Damien Leone." And I said, "No," because All Hallows Eve, I had never heard of it, which I'm surprised. But again, it was a small group of people that, I
Yeah.
mean, it was a few thousand, but it wasn't what it is today. Where like people were discovering this and kind of ahead of the curve a little bit. They were ahead of me. I didn't know what it was. And when I saw the picture of Art the Clown, I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "This is right here. This image alone is a hit." I
Mhm.
said, as long as they don't screw it up. I said, I would love to be a part of this. And then from there, because of our relationship with Phil, we were brought on to Terrifier 1, but as actors originally.
Mhm.
I was brought on to be Will the Exterminator. That's actually my head back there, one of the copies of it. And
Awesome.
originally I'd auditioned because Damian doesn't just take any. You have to audition. He does, but the right,
Yeah.
And I had auditioned and for the cop. So originally I was supposed to be the cop at the end with Steve Delasala, and then he goes, "I got a bigger role for you if you're interested. We're going to do another kill. It's Will the Exterminator. You're going to get decapitated. The catch is you're not going to survive for the sequels." And I said to him, "Well, if you're in a horror movie and you don't die, you're really in a horror movie. I'm in." So it started out that way, and then I said, "I got my brother. He can be the cop if you like the similar acting." So then he got it. And like I said, from there, we just got closer and closer and really started seeing our similarities in movies and humor and just enjoyed hanging out. And then we became more involved with Terrifier 1. We started doing some sound, we started doing some behind the scenes things. But it wasn't until Terrifier 2 where we had become producers.
Mhm.
And we really then became, the production team for it. And again, that was just from just being together and just friendship growing and then also trust growing. And so it was really cool. So Terrifier 2, I became the assistant director. I said, well, I'm dead. I might as well somehow find a way to stick around.
Right.
And became a producer, and Fuzz and Lens became the production team. And then from there, that grew into, everything else that we've been doing together, from Stream to Terrifier 3 to some other music videos even that are in the middle
Mhm.
of it. Like we've done a lot together now. And we just kind of became inseparable. I mean, we're always talking. We're on a group chat all the time and just talking about nonsense. You know what I mean? We're at Damien's house for a barbecue right before he had to finish Terrifier 3. So and we became really, really close, all of us.
That's so cool to hear. Well, when you get on that group chat later on today or whatever, be sure to tell Damien and everybody we said hi because
I
we
will.
longtime supporters
I will. He's
and
finishing up now. He's down in Mexico with Phil, and they're finishing up the sound design for Terrifier 3. So, yeah.
awesome, awesome. Of course, we are so excited for this. And with Terrifier 2, though, let's just go back to that for just a second because that moment when it was released in theaters, unrated, and it really, I mean, I don't know if viral is the term, but it just became this unstoppable, unbelievable machine. And again, I mean, I knew it was gonna hit for the Art the Clown fans, obviously. I knew it was gonna hit for horror fans, I felt, but I don't think anybody could have predicted how it hit. I mean, just people puking in the cinemas and just everybody talking about it, the extended
Yeah.
theatrical runs, all of this. Um, when that happened, when the theatrical release happened, at what point for you, as now you were part of the first one, now you're really part of the second one, but like you said, you didn't know, even after doing, and of course there was a pandemic in between all of this stuff. So at this point, it comes out. I mean, at what point did you realize, holy crap, this is pretty big for this industry?
It was as it was happening, I guess, like you said, we knew we were making something that we believed in and we knew was a good movie, or at least we thought was a good movie. And we just kept saying to everybody, saying, "When's Terrifier 2 coming out?" When we were like, "Just wait, just wait.
Yeah.
We're really making something cool here." But again, it was our fan base that we were trying to appease, because that was the ones who had gotten us to this point. Like we never wanted to let them down, and Damien was very conscious of that all the time. Like the bar was raised because they never let us down. We didn't want to let them down. It was
Yeah.
that's why we worked so tirelessly and tediously, and it was them who really drove it to get extended that first weekend. They had the pre-sales through the roof of showing up, showing out, coming and supporting and seeing it. And then from there it was like, oh wow, the numbers were like decent for this low budget indie thing. And
Hmm.
then it gets extended. And then somehow, I guess the general audience was not prepared for what Terrifier was, but they had just heard this movie and it was perfect timing too, with Halloween and fall. Somebody saw it, starts passing out and like all this craziness. And I remember we were at hibachi dinner. We were having me, Damien, and my brother Jason, just the three of us. It was just got extended that first weekend. The fainting stuff had not happened yet. And Damien calls up and he says, "Hey, because it was like amazing. We were supposed to be in theaters one day, went to 3 days, went to a full weekend, and it was extended another week." I was like, "Wow, this is cool." And he was like, yeah, we've kind of been all over the place traveling. It was like, let's just hang out, celebrate, and go grab a bite to eat. So we went, and all of a sudden our phones start going off mid meals, like boop boop boop, and we pick it up and look, and that was the tweet of somebody passing out. And then all of a sudden, it was like within minutes, it was like everywhere. And we were like, oh my God. And we started saying, can we get some more sake and wine? It was like, it was so surreal and so crazy. And it was a cool moment that I was with Damian when that
Hmm.
happened. And then the next day, it was like we were calling each other, all of us saying, did you see it on this? Did you see it was on whatever that talk show was with Rebecca Romaine Stamos' husband, or Stamos, not Stamos anymore, whatever his name is, her name is Rebecca Romaine, the husband of her. And it was like on every show, and everybody was talking about it. And it was so hard to keep up. It
Hmm.
was just, and then we're getting calls from people that would never return our calls that were in the film world.
Yeah.
And then how did you do this? But I was like, we just tried to make a good movie, and it was really cool. And to this day, we're still like blown away of just the response that it had gotten. It was something truly special.
Yeah, it was definitely special to just experience it all, even from my standpoint of just we had covered the film. Like I said, I mean I've been covering Damien's work since All Hallows Eve here at Halloween Daily News. So I mean we've been covering it, and we've been lucky enough to meet a lot of the cast members, interview a lot of the cast members from both of the first two films here, but just to see that response and then like the Stephen King
Oh
when
yeah, that was great. That was
when
awesome.
he tweets out that his approval, it's like, yeah, does it get any
No,
higher esteem than that? I mean, is
no,
there any?
that was so cool. That was all. And then he saw it, loved it, and then it was similar. Like recently, I don't know if he saw it, but like with Stream, Bruce Campbell just tweeted about it, which was freaking
Oh
awesome.
yeah, I saw that.
So
Yeah.
with like even like my point is like even after Stephen King and what happened with Terrifier, it happens somewhat again with Stream and Steve and Bruce Campbell, and we're still like, what? Like these people know about our work because we've just grown up loving their work and
Mhm.
idolizing them and wanting to emulate their success and what they're doing. So this to see that they're aware of us in some capacity is just truly jaw dropping. It's humbling.
Well, and I think that has a lot to do with why these projects are connecting, is because you guys are fans, and you are bringing that honest passion. It's not like a project of, hey, this is working. Hey, that Terrifier film worked. Let's do our version of that real quick and cash in. It's obvious this is coming from a much more real place than anything like that, and being real fans and everything. Now, like I said, I mean, we're almost on the verge of Terrifier 3. The whole horror world is hyped for it. I've been saying Art is now gonna carve up Christmas the way he carved up Halloween in the last two movies. Now it's Christmas's turn to get its turn. Um, is there anything that you can tell us just to preview this? I mean, highly anticipated. I don't even know if that is a fair enough term. I mean, it is so anticipated among fans. I mean, I just within the horror community, it's like the hype is, as we're recording this right now in early September, it is at an all-time high for this movie.
Yeah,
I,
I could tell you that it's darker for sure than at least part two. We went with a more brighter fantasy kind of movie, and this one kind of goes back to that gritty, grungy that All Hallows Eve had the original Terrifier kind of had, just obviously on a bigger scale. I mean, the budget was a lot bigger for us
mhm.
to be able to pull off some looks and something. The way we did part two, Damien wanted everything lit to where you see everything, every inch. Whereas this film, we do kind of like how Nightmare on Elm Street, the original Halloween, Black Christmas, pockets of lights, darkness. You don't know what's around the corner. It's got a very, very vintage film look. I mean, we shot it on the Panasonic lenses, like the old school, that all of the greats were shot on.
Oh, very
So
cool.
it's going to have a really, really cool feel, and a much darker feel. Art the Clown is much more sinister. There still is obviously the comedy elements that he has, where Art the Clown, because he's always having fun, but it's just a darker tone which is interesting because it's opposite Christmas, which is such a bright, happy, holiday. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how the fans, view it, and how they take it for sure. I think it's definitely, again, like one of those crazy. I mean, the kill count is through the roof. I feel like every scene in the movie is the bedroom scene now. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
because you got to just keep not letting them down and keep upping the ante. And Damian's out of his mind. He really is. I read the opening scene, and I questioned for a half a second if I wanted to do the movie.
Yeah.
then I said, of course I do. I'm definitely there. But yeah, and you'll see why. But it's really cool in that also it expands more on the lore and of the, gives you a little bit more background. But at the same token, which I hate when movies do this, it as it answers some questions, it raises others,
Hmm.
and it doesn't give too much away to where it still has the mystique behind art, and it
Hmm.
doesn't take away, again, it doesn't pull the curtain back where it's just, you feel bad for like Michael Myers and the new remakes that they've done,
Right.
what I mean? So I'm proud of how Damien treaded that line, and I think horror fans are really, really going to connect with this one too.
Well, it definitely feels like it. I mean, again, we've been following the marketing. Obviously, we're as excited as anybody, and that recently released official trailer, that full official trailer, the naughty cut. I mean, oh my god, dude! I mean it, and it looks like what you're saying, like it's going to expand things. But I love hearing what you're saying that Damien is still walking that line
He
because
is.
so many sequels do make the mistake, as you say, of going too far into the backstory, um and sometimes you want more of that, and I expect we're gonna, like you said, get some more of that here, but walk the line. Keep some of the mystique, keep some of the mystery there. So that I think that's what fans want to hear.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I think fans are going to be very happy. I also think critics from the other two Terrifier films will enjoy this one as well. Hopefully they'll give it a shot. I think they
Yeah.
will. Just out of curiosity, I'm sure, just to see where we're at. You're going to see everything that we could put into it. We put into it is on the screen. Even though we had a bigger budget, we were
Hmm.
able to do bigger things. But at the same token, it's it goes quickly as well. You know what I mean? Like, you never have as much as you want either. And we made sure that whatever we did have, we put on the screen. So this way, you really get to, see this take another level up for sure.
Taking Terrifier to another level, man. Just imagine that, people. Imagine that. That's what we have in store. Terrifier to another level. I can't wait. And again, having talked to Damien and talking to you here today, I mean, I say again, I think that's a big part of why these films are connecting, is because you guys are fans, but also because you're listening. And you mentioned it earlier, you're listening to your fans. You're literally like paying attention to what the fan base loves, and maybe what they didn't love as much. And I think that, I mean, it should be a given. Like, you think every producer and every filmmaker, that would be the end all be all for them. Like, well, what do my ticket buying public want the most?
Yeah.
But oddly enough, it seems like sometimes
Well,
that's not the
Hollywood, I
first
think this
consideration.
Hollywood bigger budget stuff, they're just so metric based.
Oh yeah, that's
It's so corporate level, and I've noticed that because they don't understand this grassroots movement. They
yeah.
really don't. They don't understand, the convention world and the meeting with the fans and the
Yeah.
talk. To them, it's all just number based. It's just this works because this is tried and true, and whatever. And this could make a quick buck and a quick turnaround, and like they're just very analytical about it. Whereas, again, we're very passionate about it. We're very, you know
Yes.
what I mean. And look, again, that could be positive, negative, I don't know. I just know we believe in what we believe in, and we work on things, and we put things out there that we would want to see ourselves. And then we listen to our fan base that, again, both good and bad, that say a little more of this, a little less of this. Why don't you think of this? You got to be smart also as a filmmaker to navigate those things and take what you think would serve the purpose of your story. But at the same token, you'd be foolish not to listen to the especially if the masses are all saying this one thing, whether great or bad. You're
Hmm.
like, maybe that's you should
Yeah.
look into that. Whereas again, Hollywood, And again, there's just a disconnect there. Not every filmmaker, but a few, a lot of them, because it's that corporate world. I don't know.
And you mentioned earlier how art is now basically part of pop culture, and
It's
it, it
bizarre.
is it is true
I know.
because I mean I remember just not long ago. I mean, well, Terrifier 2 didn't come out what 2 years ago. I mean, it's not even that long ago. And telling people, I'd see people ask, well, who's the newest icon of horror? And I'd be, well, it's Art the Clown. What are y'all talking about? Clearly, he's the latest like one to ascend to that. And they're like, well, I don't know. But I don't think many people are arguing that now. And I feel like this year is definitely Art's year because not only do we have Terrifier 3, but at the same time, I mean, that's coming out Halloween season. And now, I mean, I was just at Spirit Halloween. They've got that gorgeous Art the Clown animatronic. Across the street, Party City's got a whole other Terrifier 2 Art the Clown animatronic and the Pale Girl.
I know.
I mean, when you say pop culture, he is literally everywhere. I mean, I'm expecting we're gonna see him mentioned during like late night talk show monologues this
It's
season,
it's cra- it's
probably.
cra- it's just crazy. It's so surreal. And I was talking to Heather Langenkamp about this recently, and she had said this is kind of what happened with Robert England and Freddie,
Yeah,
where it just took, I guess, a little longer because there wasn't the social media and the internet
right.
and those things. But it kind of was happening again for us. Like for years we were saying, no, it's not. It's like that we feel like imposter syndrome. There's no way, but it's the fans they're driving it. It's happening, and it's you can't deny what's happening, and it's so surreal. It's so crazy. It's like to be a part of it is really humbling and really amazing. And I never would have thought, you know what I mean? In a million years, as much as I
Yeah.
wanted to make these movies and be in the film business, I would have never thought that we would have done something this, impactful in the horror world and cinema, whatever you want to call it. It's cool.
Yeah.
I'm most proud, though, to be honest, of how it opened up the floodgates for independent filmmakers.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm telling you, movies like Stream would not be in the theater. Movies like In a Violent Nature would not be in the theater. Whatever you think about them, the Blood and Honeys and all of that stuff, the Peter
Hmm.
Pan thing, none of that would even have a prayer in hell or a shot to even be considered to have one day. You know what I mean? Let
Yeah.
alone they're having these runs now. So it's like it's really cool, and that's something I'm most proud of. That's something I know the team is most proud of. That it really opened up doors for these independent movies to be seen. And there's a lot of talented filmmakers out there that you deserve. It's hard to kind of push through. There's so much content.
Yeah.
There's so much. And again, you see a movie, you see a big budget Beetlejuice, or you see a Stream. Which one are you going to go see? You're going to go see the Beetlejuice probably more than. But now, because of what Terrifier had done, you have a shot.
Yeah.
You have a shot for these, to reach the audience. Say, well, you know what, the Terrifier did something, and I've heard of this, and now these are the guys, and oh well, it's just that's what I'm really most proud of for sure.
Absolutely. And like you said, kind of changed the game in some ways. You got Hollywood studios scratching their heads saying, how do we get people in theaters the way this little Terrifier 2 did? And they can't figure it out. And meanwhile, you guys are over here, like you said, grassroots, listening to the audience, listening to the fans, and look what happens. They come out. They come out for it. People will come out for that content. I mean, I think it's awesome. And it's like you said, I mean, just this year, those films you mentioned, Violent Nature, Late Night with the Devil, these are getting, these theatrical releases as a direct result, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah, it really is, and that, like I said, that is what I'm truly happy about. That's what I'm most proud about.
Yeah.
Yeah, great to be a part of the Terrifier franchise. Love it, so honored. Obviously, Stream now, but just to be a part of opening that up for so many great filmmakers that maybe not would have had that shot. That I think is the coolest.
Yeah. Well, I know you are going to have an exciting Halloween season here in 2024. Stream, like I said, I mean, if you haven't seen it, you got to check it out. As you heard, it's going to be streaming this fall. So look forward to that if you haven't seen it. And of course, Terrifier 3, October 11th. I'm counting down the days I think everybody in the horror community is.
Yeah.
We can't wait for it. It's going to be awesome, and then we'll have you back on and talk about all the spoilery stuff after we've seen it that we can't talk about here.
Yes, sounds
Um,
good. That'll be
but
fun because there's so much in both films, that Terrifier 3 obviously and Stream as well, that I'd love
yeah,
to get out there. But once the masses see it all, then definitely would love and be honored to come back and we'll dive in.
absolutely. We'll do it. Doors always open, and that'll be fun. Do a spoiler heavy, just deep dive into everything on
Yep.
both films. Well, this has been awesome, man. Just hanging out and talking today. Like I said, and these aren't even all the projects you've worked on. I know we jumped around a little bit, but these are just some of our favorites in recent years that you've had a hand in, and I know there's going to be lots more exciting stuff upcoming, even beyond this year. But this year is already a pretty stacked year for you. So keep it up. Congrats on all of that. And I can't thank you enough for hanging out with us today.
Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough for allowing me to, and appreciate your support always, and for following us for all these years, and for allowing us also to extend to your base too, and helping us get the word out. So it means a lot. Thank you.
Absolutely, and we'll keep our base updated on all things you guys are doing because we're fans, like I said.
Awesome.
And
Thank
we always wrap up wishing you a happy Halloween. Usually I say it no matter what time of year it is, but like I said, as we're recording, it's actually Halloween season. So happy Halloween.
I love it. Thank you. You too.